Happy birthday to one of the most prolific directors in all of cinematic history, and especially to the horror genre. John Carpenter himself, who did not die, Rotten Tomatoes. I have been wanting to do a Carpenter run-through for a while. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be doing every film. I do own every movie he's ever done, or anything he's ever done. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna do like Elvis or Starman or things like that. I haven't decided yet. I probably won't do Elvis. But anyway, we'll figure it out. But obviously I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. And when I say the bottom, I mean the beginning of his career. So I guess I should have used the beginning instead of the bottom. The bottom actually comes in the end. So the bottom would be, we're starting like good. And I'm not a huge fan of his later work, much like most people. But we're going to start, as I said, at the beginning with Dark Star. This DVD transfer is horrendous. So if you see this copy, run from it. They have a Blu-ray copy of it, on Amazon for like $9.99 right now. I would pick it up, but honestly, I wasn't huge on this movie. I haven't seen it in 20 years probably, and there's kind of a reason I didn't go back to it. I don't dislike it. I just find a good majority of it to be fairly uneventful and boring to me. But as I had written down here, I think that may have been the intention. These guys have been out in space for 20 years and they are bored out of their minds, and they're just sitting there in this small little ship. The size of the ship kind of reminds me of something like Harry Potter, when they have the tents where they can do the little charm and then they walk inside and it's like a grand cathedral inside, or like the movie National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, when he walks into the little RV thing and it's like a single wide and it's like a mansion inside. It's a spoof movie, but kind of reminds me of that because the ship inside is so huge. There's like an elevator shaft that's like 10 stories tall, and the bombs that come out of the ship, and the 20th bomb is the one that, we're talking spoilers here, by the way, obviously. The 20th bomb is the one that blows them up, and it's seriously like 1/8 the size of the ship. So the scale on the outside definitely does not meet the scale on the inside. The elevator was like 6-7 stories tall when he was in that elevator scene. Goes on for like 20 minutes. Yes, I just took a shower, so my nose and my cheeks are like super fucking red. I look like Sebastian. I think I've said that in another video, but it's really cold out here and I have to take a shower before. Something funny that happened in between my last video and this video is I actually watched a full film to review for here, had the pencil and paper in front of me the whole time, everything, got done with it, and I genuinely had nothing to say about it. Like, at all. I didn't hate the film, I didn't love the film, I don't know. I legit like sat there for like 20 minutes like, what the fuck do I say about this movie? I don't know what to say that isn't spoilery. I don't know what to say about my feelings because I'm not... Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here, but I just thought that was a really funny story for people who follow my channel. Now, anyway, this movie was written by the guy who did Alien, Dan O'Bannon, and Dead and Buried, Return of the Living Dead, Life Force, Total Recall. I mean, this dude, wow, what a career. What a career. And he stars in the movie as well. He's one of the main characters in the film. And he doesn't act really in anything else. This movie was supposed to be a student film, and they were convinced to shoot some extra footage to make it into a feature length so that they could release it in the theater. For a student film, this is pretty impressive. The alien in this movie is laugh out loud hilarious. But, as I said, for a student film, it's pretty awesome. And I like the use of camera tricks, like the elevator. I have no confirmation on this, but I can only imagine that the elevator scene was, he was laying on the floor and they shot it sideways so that it looks like he was standing on a ledge. And especially like when he's trying to climb up on the thing, and when he climbs up into the elevator, and when he's climbing around inside that elevator shaft, you know, I watch a lot of Ninja Warrior. I do a lot of that kind of stuff myself, workout pull-ups and all this kind of stuff. The shit he's doing in this movie is impossible, okay? You can't pull yourself up like that on a little ledge, and no, it would never work in a million years. So I know just from those things alone that he did not have gravity pulling him down. And I guess there's two different cuts of this movie. The cut that was the original film, and then there is the cut that has the extra like 25 minutes or something tacked onto it. That is the version I watched for this. This one I have here has both on it. I would be curious on the pacing and everything and what is cut out. I had guesses when I was watching it of what isn't in here and what is, because there were scenes that was just dragging, and there were these long talking scenes that really never went anywhere, and I was sitting there like, I bet you this is filler here. So I don't want to really watch it again, honestly, but maybe one day I'll give the other one a chance, and maybe the flow will be better and I'll be more entertained. So this is not a beer. I don't drink and review. That would be irresponsible. I don't drink at all. These guys. Now, I really like that little bottle piano that the guy plays. I mean, obviously this is a Carpenter touch, since he's the pianist and the composer. But this little, I wish they would have shown the whole thing, but I don't know how much it actually worked and how much it was just, they put the sounds in there and he was just plugging away at it. But it was a cool little thing that he built in the ship. It was cool to see that there was, work being done for those 20 years. These guys had built things. The ship definitely does not look like a ship inside. This is a super low budget movie. But I like those little touches like that. And I don't know if because this is supposed to be a comedy, and while there is some funny moments, I feel like the majority of this is either very serious or very slow. So there are lines in the movie that I noticed where the guy was like, well, this only happens once every 12 trillion years. And it's like, that's not an actual increment of time. Like, the galaxy itself as we know it isn't even, billions of years old. It's only like 12 billion years or something. So when he said trillion, I was like, so they're just throwing out random numbers of science. They're playing with it at all times, because these are supposed to be astronauts. They're supposed to be traveling the cosmos. Maybe they know more about it now, and this is supposed to be in the space time. But whatever, like 12 trillion. This only happens once every 12 trillion years. That is absurd. Anyway, as I said, the alien in this movie is a colored beach ball. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like some of the later entries in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And I liked another thing that I liked about the characters and the things that they were doing in order to show us that they'd been there for a while is they kept getting annoyed with one of the characters because he told them stories. Like, you told us this 4 years ago. And, I have to feel for the people because they don't really have any new stories. Like, they've been trapped in this little thing by 20 years from then when they got on the ship till now. What are they going to talk about other than they just fly around and blow up? I mean, the ship's called the Dark Star, and they fly around and they blow up fucking planets, which George Lucas then made a film a few years later called, with a Death Star in it that goes around and blows up planets. Yeah. I don't know if he got his idea here at all, but it is what it is. But I just like that their stories are recycled. Like, that they literally have nothing new to talk about. Because that's just true. What the hell else would they talk about? Like, today I was down in, the whatever room, and like there's nothing to talk about. There's no new interactions. These guys are bored with each other. They don't even like the guy just sits in his little glass thing and he just looks out at the stars and he's losing his mind. I like all that stuff. I like that these guys seem unhinged. They would be, but so much of this movie just drags and drags. Like, that elevator scene is seriously like 15, 20 minutes of the movie, and the majority of it is very boring. Even though something is happening, I don't know. I don't feel any threat. I don't feel like anything is really getting me invested in the moment. Just, it's so cheap looking, and that's, I hate to knock something like that because it's a student film and all this, but it just didn't work for me personally. I did really like the ending of this movie, with the whole, talking to the bomb. Like, that was, I think, the best part of this movie for sure, is just the fact that they have smart bombs that have basically personalities. Why they would need this, I have no idea. Like, what the reasoning they could possibly come up with here, I have no clue. Like, why would the bomb need to know when to launch and all this? Like, what's the point of the technicians and the guys sitting there launching the bombs if the bombs, and there's like a self-aware computer that runs the shit, and then there's bombs that can talk to them. So why doesn't the computer just go around and blow up these planets and not make people do it for 20 freaking years, even though they only aged 3 years and 20 years? Your mind would still be gone by the time you get back, and it didn't seem like they were going home anytime soon. And then randomly there's just like one guy that's being kept in stasis. He's dead, but he can talk to them. That's another thing that's completely unexplained. Why they wouldn't continue to keep talking to him if they could, I don't know. Like, keep him company, or they just keep him on ice until they can go back and fix him, I guess is what's happening there, maybe. But they said he's dead, so I don't know. But yeah, I just don't understand the bomb thing. Like, it's a cool thing. I like that he has to talk him into not going off and try to convince him that, how does he know he exists and this and that. I think that dialogue could have been a little more intriguing. But it was okay. And then he just like goes back up, and then he blows up anyways, which I thought was actually great. That you think it's all over, and then the bomb's like 2 seconds later, like, nope, you're fake. You're fake news. You're fake news. And he just blows up the ship, and then the guy like goes off into like the colorful abyss shit, and they take him away, and then the other guy like rides a surfboard into oblivion. But yeah, I just I don't understand. Like, it's a comedy, it's silly, it's obviously not trying to take itself all that seriously, but I don't know. I always think of in-universe reasons for why things would exist like that, and I can't come up with any reason why a bomb would need to be self-aware. Like, what was the point of putting like a personality and an ability to think like that? Like, I understand targeting systems, and I understand like computer chips within there so that the programming can, but to give it like a voice and that just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm done talking about this movie. Let's move on to Assault on Precinct 13.